Hey, we're checking back in with State Representative Tacky Chan of Quincy this week for a Tacky Talk update. Good to see you, Tacky.
Good to see you, Joe. In a bright and sunny December, and the chill has set in.
I know for a little bit at least. I was just out not too long ago, actually. I went up to the Furnace-Brook Golf Course to take a little video up there. I'm going to start working very soon. And Forbes Hill Park. And then I went up to Ashlar Park, the old medical center. And all the while I was freezing.
Well, Joe and his camera and his tour.
That's right.
I was at the House Neck tree lighting on Sunday evening.
Oh yeah, the lobster pots.
Yeah, it was lovely. Good to see the kids doing the Christmas carols. A wonderful job by the fire department, American Legion, and obviously House Neck Community Council, and all the different volunteers and families to come out and DJ for loading the lobster parts again this season. And we're in between raindrops. We got there right in like little drizzly, and then as soon as we finished, the sky opened.
Good timing.
It was very good timing. It was like I could close my umbrella for a bit because it wasn't too awful, but then it was like right back on it when it got like it really started coming down, and it was warm. I mean, it was like a warm Sunday, 55, 60 degrees, and I actually was doing a lot of house cleaning, so couldn't quite get the suit on. It was like, all right, we just have to look good. No time to look great. So
that's right. It is Sunday after all.
yeah, I was like in middle of house cleaning. Like I got to get out of here before I make dinner. So it's just kind of how this life works, folks. And as you all know, I'm a single guy taking care of mom. So it's the juggling responsibilities is a bit hectic as I try to squeeze things in. That's we talked about this a little earlier before we came on about our real life, normal life issues.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to work around it, I'm sure. What did they use for the star, by the way, on the lobster pot Christmas tree?
Glowing crab.
Okay.
Yeah,
with multi-crustaceans.
David DeBone explained to me that this was a great idea during COVID when they decided to put this up. And the problem was that supply chain issues, they couldn't find glowing lobster.
It goes right down to shellfish.
Close enough. We know there are crabs in the bay, and I was like, makes sense to me.
Sure, why not? So what's been happening in your legislative world?
It's been fairly quiet overall. I've been taking meetings. Had some legislators come to my office yesterday for some meetings, and a lot of phone call and requests from folks as we close in on the new year because Joint Route 10's coming up on the first Wednesday in February, which means all bills have to report out of committee, or at least something has to be happening with them. As chairs make recommendations to committee members to vote, we've set a schedule up for 2 days in January to hold what we call a late file public hearing, as well as hold 2 executive sessions to get bills out. You'll be able to watch that on the MA Legislature, that website. We are a very strong effort to at least you can see us do our executive sessions, which is not very exciting, to be frank with you. But you can see us, vote, which is more of a tally of the folks in the hearing room, as well as obviously online because everything's still hybrid. And here we read bill numbers on what we're taking action on. So, I mean, we pretty much have probably about 30% of all the bills in committee has action taken already. So it'll be a long couple of executive sessions just reading bill numbers. And of course, as January turns, the lobbying will be hot and heavy for advocacy groups as well as citizen advocacy on bills that they're interested in. So right now it's a low period. We got some constituent service issues. We got some calls in around this holiday period. Unfortunately, people's rents are due. People feel assistance as to where the shifts we're talking about being colder now. People needing food stamps. I know that unemployment is still very low, but it is a rotational thing. It's only the same people on unemployment the whole time when you look at that percentage. And some people come on and some people come off, and human services are required. And some people call us to see if they can get help. So that's still continuing. And talking to my staff, it seems to be a little bit of a tick up on a few things, particularly housing and unemployment.
Interesting. Well, yes, the Fed met yesterday, and yes, they're going to start to cut rates next year, looks like. But I mean, the economy is still very weird.
Very warm economy, despite the fact that people feel a strong pinch on the dollar. more people taking more than one job, which has resulted in the availability of job number coming down. Is actually pre-pandemic now with 1.2 jobs available per individual, which was actually pre-pandemic numbers, which means a very strong job market. If you get negative numbers, like you got like 0.8 jobs available per person, I mean, then, unemployment should be very high, right? So, it's a really strong economy, but I think the fact that people are still feeling pinched at home, it's hard to buy new property, hard to buy a new car on a loan. Student loan forgiveness ended. Obviously, that created a whole new group of folks that is now feeling a new financial impact that was a temporary for years as a result of COVID. Despite the fact that the big economy numbers are great, people at home, are feeling still the pinch.
Yeah, there's this interesting disparity between, what the big numbers say that the economy is doing great and what people are talking about around their, dining room tables and trying to afford groceries and gas.
You're absolutely correct. And of course, this is a big country. So I think that's part of what people forget up here in Massachusetts. Our quality of life isn't the same as the Midwest or the Southwest, right? Our quality of life isn't the same as the Pacific Northwest, right? It's different everywhere. And even in large states, like Florida, the Panhandle is different from Miami. Massachusetts, the Berkshire is different from the Cape, which is different from the North Coast, and which is different from Greater Boston. So, I mean, well, including myself as we talk, my top book constituent services or, our trials and tribulations at Supermarket, is really our little world here in Quincy. I don't claim that this is the whole state nor the whole country, but this is my little microcosm of how I see things. Whether you agree with me or not, I don't know. And I'm sure someone would like to share your opinions with me. But this is my observation, right? When I go visit the market, when I go visit CVS, when I go get my gasoline, when I check out the roads in the city, same potholes you guys deal with, right? And even the commute into Boston. I mean, I have odd hours around my meeting schedule, and I've observed that, it's inconsistent hours of when traffic is screwy, both coming in and out of the city. And some nights, I've actually been out there nights more in Boston, getting out at 8:30, and it's like nuts trying to get out. But, I've also had 8 a.m. trapped on the bridge or 8 a.m. not trapped on the bridge.
I know there's no set rhyme or reason to it anymore. Usually you could depend on, morning rush hour, afternoon rush hour. That's gone.
Yeah, and even when economies were much stronger, you had multiple shift hours, right? You had that morning shift, the mid-afternoon shift, the evening shift. Particularly big banks, financial industry is a strong part of our economy, and the 24-hour industry. And people may have worked at state banks like State Street Bank, listing, and they were running 24-hour shifts at one point during the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. Yeah. And I know a lot of things remote, everything's electronic. It's very different now in terms of how you engage many different industries, especially the financial industry and on mediums of communication. But still, I mean, you still need some office folks, and downtown's still very quiet. I mean, financial district, downtown area, other than tourists, there is not a lot of people there. Lunch places, again, the nicer ones that cater to high-end white collar, many are still not open for lunch.
Yeah, actually, State Street just announced earlier this week 1,500 layoffs in the pipeline soon. So things are still settling out.
Yeah, it's a very strange boat tightening, right? During recessionary periods, wages stagnate or go down, and industry income, their earnings also stagnate, go down, and the profit margins shrink. Hence, they start layoffs. This is kind of a weird situation where you have a combination of factors. Well, inflation is creating a pinch, despite businesses are making more money. They're making more money because everything's more expensive. So their margins are kind of weird because even though they're making more money, the margins aren't super because they're now in a price competition, rising product prices, and the consumer pays the price for rising product prices, which means wages also go up because that's part of a workforce shortage. But we're living in kind of this weird hybrid, remote, non-remote world where there's also new efficiencies that appear. And companies that discover these new efficiencies and paying rent for property they don't need to pay rent for because rent hasn't gone down in the last 2 years. A need to try to figure out how to also tighten the belt, which will rip through the economy. The thing is that as less job openings available throughout any sector, unemployment's going to go up, and that's the mystery question, right? Can any business, whether it be a giant corporation or your local sub shop, or even you're self-employed, I mean, what's going to happen here in 2024, where inflation, the big number is going down, but it isn't like a cliff drop.
Right. No, and prices are not following suit, a lot of them.
Yeah, and I don't see the wage deflation coming. I think the wages you see in hourly wages the business have to pay for is most likely going to stay at the rate they are, especially the hourly rate in service industry. I'll be very surprised if there's wage deflation. The JOLT number is still, jobs opening number is still, 1.2 per individual out there. That means there's still more jobs than people. And till you get a negative, good sized negative on that, I just don't see wage deflation.
Well, I mean, during the pandemic, a lot of people retired early, or just chose to, do something different. So that opened up a lot of positions. And there's new technology emerging that people haven't been trained for yet. So there's a coming generation too.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is that as the interest rates go down, generally the markets do really well in the time period on the way before and the one way in on interest rates go down. As we talking today's the 14th of December, the market's gone, insane right now because the Federal Reserve said they're not going to raise rates and they're going to implement 3.25 interest rate cuts to the baseline over the course of next year without actually saying when next year. And of course, they could change their mind at any time. But you got
God forbid something else terrible could happen, yeah.
Yeah, and you got this market euphoria. And you hit on the head. Retirements are going to be coming up in 2024. This market euphoria continues. And you're like 67. You got to take a hard look and whether or not you're going to cash out, because we saw how wonderful things were in 2021. Then the second half of 2022, the wheels fell off the bus.
Right.
On the market. And then people's 401ks and 457s and 403bs and Roth IRAs or regular IRAs or or there's whatever your pension program is or pension plan is, the wheels fell off the bus. So 2023 was, kind of a recovery year on your retirement accounts. And, I think early part of 2024 that we see, so obviously some rocky roads, it isn't going to fly high every single week.
Right.
But, if you are one of those folks that 2 years ago, was flying high and missed the boat on cashing out, and you're looking now that this Christmas period is a huge spike and you're maybe hoping that it continues on to 2024 and you're at that age where, maybe you can downsize, maybe, you're looking at an opportunity to go to maybe a lower cost state and looking, at your retirement funds and you're seeing this, perhaps 10% spike in the next few months in 2024 and you're like really talking to your financial advisor about what to do next. You really should. And I'm not saying you should retire, but that is going to be a huge factor in our economy.
Yeah, for sure. It might be a good time to, take some profits and lock them into a longer term CD at the higher rate now.
Yeah, long-term CDs will still be high. Banks need your money because so much money flowed into money markets and treasuries. I mean, it's now very apparent to me that's the case. And as money markets and treasuries flow back out from people's portfolios back into the stock market, it's going to shift the market around again, the stock market. But those are folks that are looking at their treasuries and the money market and decide that this isn't going to ride high much more longer because of the rate changes with the Feds. Upcoming banks, whether it be locally or nationally, because of Charles Schwab and Fidelity and all these online brokerages, you can get CDs from anywhere in the country. But just to warn you all, on your taxes, you only get $100 deduction on CDs and interest for banks inside Massachusetts, not outside.
Okay, good to know.
As part of your planning, I know that $100 can be a big deal for everyone, that $100 deduction on Massachusetts bank interest. So, as you're shopping around, you can, like I say, you can do it online. You can try to shop for Massachusetts bank. But you can find banks, around the country, giving you a 5.0 to 5.4, for 3, 6, and 1 year. And then you got introductory opening accounts where they pay you money if you put like 10 grand or 20 grand or whatever that minimum is, they say, and they give you like, 1 to 5, whatever dollars. If you
Right.
dollars, hundreds of dollars, which is kind of shocking. If you keep money X time period, plus you get special introductory rates. I mean, it's a bit of homework to hunt down.
Yes. Yep.
But you can find these really kind of like whoa moments where you can generate, several hundred, maybe $1,000 plus in like a 3 to 6 month period passively.
Yeah, it's, like you say, do your homework. Be aware of fees, don't be afraid to ask questions about any limitations, but they're out there for sure.
Yeah, and it's FID insured.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say, I want people making mistakes, but you guarantee your principal.
Right. If nothing, you won't lose anything.
Exactly. And if you make a mistake, I mean, obviously there's penalties involved, but I mean, everyone should know there's always a penalty if you try to withdraw early.
That's right, that you should be advised of that for sure. So can we talk a little bit about the statement by the Attorney General this week, Techie, regarding accepted forms of payment, especially some of the larger like TD Garden, Gillette Stadium, Fenway Park, these credit only policies, or put your cash onto a credit debit card to use to pay, as opposed to just using real money.
Yeah, Massachusetts law requires that anyone making a payment must take cash, period. Cash is still king, folks. But, we're living in a world where electronic payment is very popular. You all know the danger of electronic payment. I mean, credit cards seem like infinite money, but they're not.
Mm.
ATM, overdraw fees will come into place at some point, right? So, part of the other reason why cash is required is because people are underbanked.
Right.
Underbanking is still a real thing in this country, including Massachusetts. And it can be a myriad of reasons. Some people just don't trust banks. I know older folks don't. Other people run home businesses, which is partly a cash economy based. Cash is not trash, right? In terms of investing.
No, don't throw it away.
Don't throw your cash away. But no, seriously, I mean, there are a lot of businesses, whether it be small businesses or self-owned businesses or home businesses that are still cash driven, despite what people think about PayPal and Venmo and other stuff on electronic transaction. And you also have a lot of immigrant communities that live here that are used to just operating cash and not in credit. So, by not taking cash, you're disenfranchising. I need to look up the numbers. It's been a while, but I've been told it's up to 20+% of the state is underbanked.
Wow, no kidding. That's high. I didn't think it would be that high.
Yeah, I need to look at the numbers. It's been a while. I mean, I've been working on a bill for years that requires debit card wage payments, as opposed to getting a check or cash, you get a debit card for wage payments and have it treated the same as cash, where the employers can't make you pay for your own pay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's against the law in Massachusetts for your employer to make you pay to get your money. So
Right.
Two simple examples. The first one is a direct deposit. Your employer has to pay for the direct deposit service and electronic payroll. They can't deduct your paycheck for that.
Gotcha.
Second is the original example many, many years ago, where you could cash your check at the register at your employer. You sign your paycheck over to your employer, and then you just take money out of the register.
Oh, if you're working in a retail setting. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, this is this is why this law was in place.
Gotcha.
We thought about, many, many years ago before we have direct deposit. And not, again, underbanked. People may be working nights at retail. They need the money now. They can't get to the bank. There's no direct deposit. There's no ATM machines. Some younger folks like, what? And you need to take home your wad of cash out of retail stores as a weekly pay. And weekly pay is a weird thing too these days. Everyone's a bi-weekly pay now as opposed to. So yeah, that's where it originates from. So in terms of the other side, it's reflective of that type of paycheck situation where, some people will operate in cash because they work in retail and they just, get their pay in cash, and they're going to deposit some of the cash in the bank later on. Yeah. If they bank, and then, they pay everything else and groceries and everything else in money. People still use money at grocery stores. It does happen. So, that's why it's illegal for people not to have a cash-based option in terms of a storefront. I know web, if you're online stores, I mean, there's no such thing. I mean, it still exists, but we don't do cash on delivery anymore in terms of
Right.
delivery services. That isn't
It's
like,
really rare because nobody's home anymore.
oh, that's it. I mean, unless you're like a pizza shop locally
Right.
is my favorite example, and you pay cash and a tip to the people delivering the food. It's the same. They're an employee of that business, not Uber Eats or any other delivery service. I mean, that's unusual to pay cash at the door.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I talked about this before because my dad's upbringing. I still have this weird behavior where I carry some cash. I don't carry like a bunch of money, but you carry some. Just enough that you get to a restaurant and let's say the ATM their transaction machine isn't working, which does happen. You at least have something to make sure they at least pay your bills.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I haven't taken a cab in a long time. Do they still take cash? Do you know, Jackie?
You can do electronic payment in cabs now too. I did that actually in Vegas last winter as part of the NCSL, People of Color Caucus. And I was a little surprised because I haven't done a cab in a while.
Mm.
I don't go anywhere, folks, as you know. And when I do travel, particularly overseas, I do prefer to be in places where I'm close to mass transit.
Right. Yep.
I
Which we know is all electronic now.
Yes, I do. Well, I actually use cash to get the tickets as
Oh,
well. So I do get local currency, and then I load up a card, or
yep.
it's
Yep.
just tourist cards in some of these countries. You just
Yep.
get a tourist card, and it's like you pay a larger amount, but you got like unlimited usage for X number of days, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I've
So,
done that before. So yeah, I always prefer, my preferences always be somewhere in mass transit, particularly vacationing alone. And again, also the other countries do have Uber type services. They're just not Uber.
right. Yep.
So obviously he up the new apps and obviously have that card with no transaction fees, no foreign transaction fees, and you make it all work. Um, so yeah, I mean, cash is still king, despite what people think. And like I said, a lot of people still underbanked.
And I mean, the US dollar is still literally the standard around the world too.
The reserve currency, right? I mean, your reserve is always going to be U.S. related dollars,
Mhm.
including U.S. Treasuries, gold, and
Mhm.
cash, U.S. cash. I mean, more than half the money on our printing press never stays in country, whether electronic or physical. It's somewhere else in the world in someone's bank account, or hard cash in a safe, or a case of world banks. They keep gobbling up U.S. Treasuries. So interesting trivia. China is not the single biggest country now that buys U.S. treasuries. It's Japan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Japanese and the British have always been in the top tier.
Hmm.
And people ask why do foreign countries buy the U.S. treasuries? It's very simple. It's guaranteed money.
Right. Yep. It's
People,
exactly.
yeah, people have all these have these very nefarious reasons why people own U.S. treasuries. This ain't complicated. It's because it's guaranteed money that they're going to pay.
It's literally money in the bank. Yeah.
Yeah, the Social Security Trust Fund is the biggest buyer of U.S. Treasuries. It's the biggest single one. Again, because your Social Security is a minimal risk trust fund. U.S.
It's backed
Treasury,
by the US government. Yeah.
it's a minimal risk.
Hmm.
So U.S. Treasuries are there. Of course, the interest rate market, as you also has changed how people buy bonds and
Hmm.
T-bills and all that. But that's kind of weird. So that signals is always a bad sign is if a country or a big business is selling a lot of their U.S. treasuries, meaning they need money now. They're not waiting for maturity. So you get your principal back, but you also aren't going to make as much interest on those treasuries. So even though some countries are buying less, or some corporations or people are buying less of our U.S. treasuries, there's also a lot being flooded into the market too. It's a reflection of how much treasuries they hold. So if they have a rapid decline in treasuries being held, it means they're selling them. When they're selling them, that means they're having a money problem.
Yeah. Speaking of money, the supplemental budget, Tacky, that was recently approved, is there anything specifically in that for Quincy? Do you know?
Not specifically. I mean, there's some, again, the migrant issue is the one that was the largest part of that. All cities and towns will receive a little bit of assistance depending on the circumstances. Quincy is not. I know there was a news report that was actually incorrect based on what the governor's people told me. That is not housing there on an extended time period. So other communities, I was talking to the rep from Attleboro, has reached maximum capacity for them to house. And in their case, they had two things going. One, they had a massive flood, so they had natural disasters. Some of the money in the supplemental budgets to assist the town on the city on this massive flooding problem. The second part is that money's going down there for filling the back hole, so to speak, on education funding as well as human service funding, because the budgets at the beginning of the school year was not planning these influx of children.
Right. Yep.
So healthcare systems, community health in particular, need assistance, and we're funneling money to some of these communities that are hosting migrants. Quincy is not hosting permanent migrants; they're all temporary. They come and they go. They won't be
Right.
held
Yeah.
in the school system.
Yeah, no, they have not been enrolled in the school system at all. That's right. So, and I know in Attleboro, actually, Manette Community Health Center just opened a location down there, so that works out well.
Yeah, and kudos and great job to Manette and Bay State and QCAP and many others. Particularly in the health check, I think I cannot emphasize the importance of the health checks, especially looking for tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is high again on a global level, particularly in countries where there are not very good healthcare systems, which is actually a lot more to the planet than you realize.
Yeah, and it's so contagious too. You don't want to get that out of control.
Very contagious and very sneaky.
Yeah.
You have to actually hunt for TB to find it. And the other one's measles.
Yes.
I didn't realize how many children in this country are not inoculated by measles because we thought we finally eradicated it. But again, on a global level, like polio still exists.
Mhm.
It's not 100% eradicated on a global level.
Right. Hey, do you know Quincy Asian Resources, Jackie? Are they still downtown or have they moved out of Quincy Center?
Yeah, they're still in the Quincy Center area. They have left, essentially the QCAP building.
Yeah.
And I believe they're in President's Place.
Oh, okay. The old bargain center?
Yeah, this I'm not. You have to talk to Phil about this. I have not
Okay.
talked about it recently because I've not had a chance to visit a new locale. So there's some transitional components regarding bringing the new locale into shape. So they're kind of like in between situation.
Oh, okay.
They bring the new office into shape. So there's a little bit of a quasi transitional period they're in.
Okay. Yeah, I know they have the new place up North Quincy. It's pretty busy. So, but I just noticed the other day that the Quincy Center location is gone.
Yeah, it's we've outgrown, or they've outgrown more accurately, that location, and it eventually was going to be time to move on. And Beth Ann Strollo and QCAP has been a great landlord and host for since 2001.
Yep, a long time. Yep.
So yeah, it's been well over 20 years, and Beth Ann was one of the board agency founders and board founders. So and she's been very generous for over the years on trying to help us get floating initially, but eventually, it's actually a pretty powerful agency in terms of its development. And Philip Chung, you guys all know there's a New York presence as well as a Quincy presence, and they have a contract with Amazon regarding holistic human services, plus hiring folks to work as drivers and people working in the warehouse. And it's like at the same time you can do human services there regarding things like shelter and food services and things like that. Besides, keeping up the local programs on youth and seniors and English classes and workforce development here locally. So they're really expanded, and they're the budgets are kind of funny in not-for-profits because a lot of that money is committed to other services. So it's like it's not money in the way people think it is.
Mhm.
The land is massive CDC grant. They'll be implementing, and food security is one of the things they're working on too. So, and then of course the mental health. They
Yes.
have a fully licensed mental health capacity from DPH last year, and that is now ramping up.
Yep, they've really grown exponentially for sure in a short period of time. As has QCAP, and it's also expanded in as many facets of it now.
Yeah, and it's quite remarkable. And not to disparage some of the Chinatown agencies, but I mean, despite the economy and COVID and everything else, we've done a fantastic job here, on actually delivering services that need to be delivered. Innovating in and out different services based on need, and obviously chasing the dollars down they need to chase down, without a Boston address.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about this before we started recording this morning, Tack, about it. I want to ask you, do you think there should be safe injection sites in Massachusetts, like the Department of Public Health came out with earlier this week and said, yes?
Yeah, I mean, my attitude is going to, right? I'm not warm to this idea. Yeah, you got to do this kind of stuff. It's not as simple as like, you open a storefront and you have a couple of medical people there and then you let people inject safely, the substances. It needs to be more than that. It has to be like a full service center to try to help you, um, you know, not use these substances, right? You want people to, go into recovery, get the help they need to go into recovery. And, I'm sure the DPH is looking at that, but it's, you can bring people there, but how do you get them to want to get recovery?
Yeah, it has to be up to the individual. It has to start with them, right? It's the first step in the 12-step program, right? Admitting you have a problem.
That's right. And, I know I haven't gone to drug court as much, particularly during COVID when you didn't have drug court in conventional matter. But, Norfolk County, is the national model for drug court, giving folks that have been arrested a chance to go into recovery as opposed to go to jail for minor offenses. And, it's the same story here every time. You hit a certain point in your life and you make the effort to kick the habit, quote unquote, but recovery and reclaim control of your life. Injection centers, create a safer environment for people not to overdose, and if something bad happens, people are there. But the objective is to help you take over your life, not enable something to continue to take over your life.
Right.
And I've not seen the plan yet, but if you're going to do something like that, it's going to somewhat of a shift in our mentality of substance abuse assistance, where you need to create like a total center, where you come in, but you're not just there for injection. And then there's also the peer enabling issue, right? One of the things I hear from people that work in this field is that if you have peers that also engage in the same behavior it's just positive reinforcement for negative behavior. And injection sites can create that positive reinforcement for negative behavior.
If that's all that's happening there, right? If that's all you're allowed to do there, right?
Yeah, and like I said, I've not looked at reports around the world yet. It's been a while, but I mean, last time I saw something, was a long time ago, and it's mixed results.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. On one level, it's a public safety, public health issue. On another level, you got to do this. You got to do the full approach, and that's going to be a major investment and a shift on how we address recovery.
Yeah, and I can see there'll be obviously a lot of pushback from where they're located, how they're paid for. So it's a whole can of worms for sure.
Yeah, again, I'm not on the committee of mental health and substance abuse, which is Adrian Madaro, the rep from Eastie. But listen, it's been a very long time since I've seen a study. I could probably find some news reports around the world to see what the preliminary results are, but it's been a long time since I looked at it. But even then, if I recall correctly, many years ago, this is not a new program. It's been around for decades in terms of.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And not consistent results about positive responses. It's
right. Yeah, though there's much more available data on the prevention programs, Gavin House, things of that nature that do show success.
Yeah, that's correct. So, let's see how this plays out a bit. I mean, my colleague, on the substance abuse and mental health committee, is kind of in charge of that, as well as the public health run by Marjorie Decker out of Cambridge. Those are the committee chairs that are definitely most interested in working on that stuff and let the members know what they think. But as you can tell, I mean, I get it. However, it should not be, and I'm very doubtful not seeing the DBH report that it's solely talking about injection centers. But, also a lot of these services are done by not-for-profit agencies, and you need to buy in from like other not-for-profits. They're going to have to do resource reallocation. To provide a holistic approach, or the DPH is going to have to come up, or we're going to have to come up on the state level, more funding for a separate program that isn't part of our existing network. Yeah.
All kinds of questions, not a lot of answers right now.
No, I don't have a lot of answers. I just know how to do something, some baseline implementation, as you can tell, but Obviously, detailed implementation, I have no idea, and I don't have sufficient information to give you an idea how a detailed implementation would work.
Yeah. Anything coming up in the district we should let folks know about?
We're heading the holiday season. I'm sure there may be some more little tree lightings here and there, and neighborhood things. I have no idea where they are at the moment. As we're speaking now, the city hall has their open house today, which obviously you'll miss by the time you hear this recording. And obviously, I drove by and saw the skating rink.
Yeah.
At the old IHOP area. And it's great. I mean, this is a great project by the city, and the city's done a great job putting up the festive lights. And but Quincy is pretty quiet going into the holidays in terms of like big activities.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we've already, we had a parade, we had our lightings, we had our Santa, we kind of did it all. Now we're taking a little break.
Yeah, it's nice this way. I know we don't have First Light anymore. We haven't had First Light in decades, but that was also privately funded.
That was huge, actually, years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good because people didn't have to get into Boston and that insanity. And that can get kind of crazy. And sometimes you want to do something daytime hours in Boston, where it's a little quieter, and then you do a nighttime event in the city of Quincy. So,
right.
I know things are expensive. The city hall has a lot to do. They do a lot for us already in terms of celebrations and family fun. But a lot of stuff was also privately paid for, and we never recovered from the 03 recession. Some of these things that you may remember from 20 plus years ago aren't happening today because when people literally ran out of money. There was deflation actually. The 03 period, and we had deflation again in 08. Donors were dried up, and they're never reactivated. When the economy got strong in the teens, but it is a lot of work too. It's not like you just need money. You got people to actually put the effort in and spend basically like a month, half a month. I'm sorry, half a year, to a full year planning some of these things out.
The polar plunge on How's Next coming up in January, Tacky. You gonna be in there?
No. No.
I knew the answer already.
No, and I'm aware the Friends of Wallaston Beach also have a polar plunge.
Yes, they do.
And last year there was a polar plunge for the Lincoln Hancock School.
Oh, that's right. Yes, they were down at the Mount Street Beach. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the Friends of Wallaston Beach were in Boston last year.
Yeah, I don't like the water. I have no interest in freezing in water. So if you don't like it, just the incentivization of code is not, no. And given my health constantly getting sick in the winter, I think it invites immune deficiencies to go forward in my case. So I wish everybody the best, enjoy, and be very supportive of your local organizations, but no, I'm not getting water.
Fair enough. Well, we'll wrap things up, Jackie.
Yeah, a little bit of a short program, but it is a holiday period, so there's less to say. But let's go about random things. Just remind folks, Christmas is on a Monday, New Year's is on a Monday, so obviously holiday traffic is going to be quite insane going into this weekend. So that's going to be a reminder for folks. Traffic safety, is very important this time of year. Obviously, health safety, right? It's a very stressful period, and for a lot of families, not necessarily financially, just putting together the holidays, right? Whether you're hosting a party with your family, or you're going with friends, or you try to travel to family and friends during this holiday period, remember your mental health and your physical health is part of it all. I mean, you're supposed to have a good time, not to make yourself nuts. And if you're doing shopping by mail, online shopping, a lot of FedEx services and others, are telling people to try to get the shopping done by next Sunday to try to ensure that it arrives before Christmas, and check the website for many local stores who are going to be doing some curbside pickup during New Year, Christmas Eve. And Christmas Eve is this curbside pickup is actually a COVID component, right? It actually is very efficient for stores to have your orders ready, bring them straight to your car, and just keep moving everybody through. So, the stories about in the news about extended hours from the big box stores. So definitely check online. You can do something that you're already going to buy, you've seen, you don't have to look at the store. try to do it online and do curbside pickup. And we always encourage, again, small businesses, try to, get to your small business owners for the holiday season. Again, they may also be providing accommodations in terms of pickup and drop off as well. So, obviously give them a phone call. You show up at their store, ask them about whether or not they can hold things for you to do that. And also watch for credit card scams. I got a new scam in my email saying a vendor is looking for payment from me. It comes as intel.paypal.com. That is not PayPal. That is a scam. It looks very good, by the way, that the email that looks authentic. So watch out for those email scams. Watch out for the phone calls. Again, the robocalls have started. People are claiming that you owe stores money. People are claiming that computer's been compromised. People called claiming that you owe taxes, or calls claiming that immigration trying to deport you. Those are all scam calls. Government agencies do not phone call you, and neither banks nor box stores nor any store will call you for collection. So, obviously, you can call us and we'd help verify things. But also don't click on things you don't know on the internet, particularly email. Calling you won't help you once you click that and things happen.
That's right.
Definitely reach out to law enforcement, so at least get a police report in. But everyone be very careful. This time of year is a very big period. And you saw the news. There was a scam regarding gift cards where people are stealing gift cards, pre-activate somehow, and then stealing the numbers off the cards essentially. And then when you activate your card, they wipe out your card online, and then you get a card that's nothing in it.
Right.
So watch out for gift card theft, and obviously, another one is that people force other people through these scams on phones buy gift cards on their behalf, right? And if someone's telling you to pay them in a gift card, that is a scam. So I know it's a long list of scams I'm telling you about, but right about now is that time period.
Yeah, unfortunately, and they're all coming up with new ones all the time. So you really need to be vigilant. And if you have a question, listen to your common sense, because if something's raising a red flag, there's a pretty good chance that it's not legit.
Yeah, and definitely err on the side of caution, everyone. I mean, if you feel like it's, a scam, your gut's probably going to be correct. And, you always can, if it's a business personally know, and, you engage regularly, you got a weird email, call that business, or call that bank, or call that financial planner, or call, whomever that that you have engagement. One of the things that really fools people is that something you regularly engage business with, and they've been hacked. You get an email from them, and they've not realized it happened yet. Sometimes you see it's a little bit peculiar. Call up that person that or the business and say, hey, I got this email. Is it really from you? And even if it's like kind of like the big insurance company, like I got Farmers, right? In my life, I see some weird email. I mean, there's no reason I can't call customer service to say, hey, I get this email. What's going on here? And at least you're calling your insurance company to find out if this email is legit, which is, I'm going to tell you, 100% of the time it's not legit.
Right.
But it does, put them on alert also that perhaps there have been a security breach, or, there is a new scammer out there that somehow is finagling an email address that makes it look like them, so they can put it on their fraud alert system. Insurance companies and banks spends hundreds of millions of dollars on data security.
Yep.
Fraud alerts. And every time a fraud happens, they eat it. So it's in their best interest to let them know that a bank or insurance company is in some kind of fraud situation, so that they don't end up, taking the negative in the bottom line, which then gets for us in the long term.
Yeah, it's typically older folks are targeted. So if something looks suspicious, ask somebody you trust, to check it out with you.
Absolutely, you absolutely should. And that's like a piece of advice for today as we go into the holiday week next week. Definitely be very careful, and also, yeah, I mean, I know things are expensive, and some folks think they have infinite money with credit cards, but this is actually a good time to start revaluing finances. We talked early on in the show about retirement, right? It's a great time to actually start to reevaluate finances. Once you get through the Christmas period, you get through all your friends and family and everything else you have to do during this time period. It's a good chance to sit down and do a reevaluation where you are, and start your financial planning for next year before tax day comes in April.
Absolutely. It'll be here before you know it. Can we get a hold of you, Techie, of course?
Of course, 617-722-20 No, sorry.
2370.
2370 617-722-2370. I had a brain freeze and almost gave you my old number. So yeah, we're in office. Give us a call. Beth and Roseanne's the front desk, our front desk staff, but we're not always able to get to the phone because we're on the phone with somebody else. So, obviously, hit the voicemail and we'll get back to as quick as we can. TACKEY.CHAN tacky.chan@mahouse.gov. My email is actually accessible, so this is a good sign right now. So obviously we look at prioritization of constituent services first, and then I do look at everybody's email regarding policy issues. I may not remember everybody's name, but I do read these, and then the staff and I will review, and obviously we categorize everything into our database system, so we know what people's positions are. MAlegislature.gov said this a little earlier today regarding you can watch our info sessions as well as our past public hearings. You can look up bills yourself and what the status are. I've had people call and email me, ask me for an update after they've been to the website. I do not have any more information than what the website tells you because it is simulcast based on the filing. So when we file stuff, it is put on the website very shortly after because that's how the system works.
Right. Yeah, there's no magic involved here.
There's no tacky insight on where a bill is because what you see on the web is where it is. Because as a committee chair, I do know when we file our stuff, it makes itself to the website, in a simulcast manner when the clerk processes it at the same time we send it to them. It's all electronic. So, but you can look up your bills. You don't need me to do that. Then you also can find, like I said, things about the legislature that you want to look at. Obviously, we have State Representative Tacky Chan Facebook. You can see pictures of places I've been. We should have the House Neck Lobster Pot tree up at some point, if not already there. I know Maeve yesterday was asking me about, different pictures as we're kind of like putting some holiday collages up on social media. It's the holidays, folks. X at Tacky Chan. We still use that. And of course, here are our QETV. You can see it on local cable access or YouTube or the website and on your favorite podcast station.
We got you covered, coming and going.
Yeah, well, you think you're paying me, given the fact I'm basically, promoting at this point.
If we were for profit, people would wonder, but we're not. So there's no money exchanged here, folks.
There is no compensation for me to promote Joe, just to let you all know.
That's correct. So we'll talk one more time before Christmas.
Absolutely. And for those who may be far too busy to listen to us next week, I'll give you a little bit of advance. Happy Christmas. Obviously, right now in the Hanukkah period. So happy Hanukkah to folks that celebrate Hanukkah. We're going to do at least one more next week. And let's hope for a very quiet week and we can talk about non-interesting news for our light holiday.
Oh, okay. We'll go over your holiday menu, maybe. How about that?
You can do that. I think we get a little bit of tacky cooking, how Tacky does cooking. My unique dietary problems.
So maybe a Santa hat for you, Tacky.
Well, let's not push your luck, Joe.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Sure they go.